Hello, this is Dana, and thank you for listening. Our last segment was from the book of 1 Peter in the New Testament. Today, I'm presenting the 16th segment of the Master the Bible Today series, a snapshot of the book of Joshua from the Old Testament. The purpose of the book of Joshua is to give the history of Israel's conquest of the promised land of Canaan, which occupies the same general geographical territory of modern-day Israel. Joshua wrote this book except for the ending, which may have been written by the high priest Phinehas, who was an eyewitness to the events recorded herein. It was amazing that out of over 1 million people, Joshua and Caleb were the only two original men who left Egypt that entered the promised land. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 29 through 38. They had not doubted from the beginning that God would give them success in taking the promised land. For over 40 years, Israel had journeyed a circular route through the desert, but not because they were following their leader. Quite the opposite was true. With failing faith, they had refused to obey God and to conquer Canaan. So they wandered. Finally, the new generation was ready to cross the Jordan and possess the land. Having distinguished himself as a man of faith and courage, Joshua was chosen to be Moses' successor. Joshua was a brilliant military leader and a strong spiritual influence. But the key to his success was his submission to God. When God spoke, Joshua listened and obeyed. Joshua underscored the importance of obeying God in chapter 23, verse 11. Joshua stated, quote, "So be very careful to love the Lord your God," unquote. And in chapter 24, verse 15, quote, "But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then today whom will you serve? Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But for me and my household, we will serve the Lord," unquote. The same question remains for us today. Choose today whom you will serve. Will it be God or man? Joshua's obedience served as a model. As a result, Israel remained faithful to God throughout Joshua's lifetime. The book of Joshua is divided into two main parts. The first narrates the events surrounding the conquest of Canaan. Part 2 of the book of Joshua records the assignment and settlement of the captured territory. The book concludes with Joshua's farewell address and his death, chapters 23 and 24. Read Joshua and make a fresh commitment to obey God today. Decide to follow the Lord wherever he leads and whatever it costs. As we who believe live the Christian life, we need to cross over from our old life to the new life. We need to put off our selfish desires and press on to possess all that God has planned for us. Like Joshua and Israel, we need courageous faith to live a new life. The people of the nation of Israel decided to listen to Joshua and serve the Lord God who had rescued them from slavery in the land of Egypt. So Joshua and his army moved from city to city, cleansing the land of its wickedness by destroying every trace of idol worship. We need to ask ourselves today, what idols in our life prevent us from complete allegiance to God? Now, conflict with evil is inevitable, and we should be as merciless as Israel was in battle every day to destroy sin in our lives. Joshua urged the Israelites to continue to follow the Lord and worship Him alone. They had seen God deliver them from many enemies and miraculously provide for all their needs. But they, like us, are prone to wandering from the Lord. God commanded His people, the Israelites, to conquer the Canaanites and take all their land. Completing this mission would have fulfilled God's promise to Abraham and brought judgment on the evil people living there. Unfortunately, Israel never finished the job. Israel was faithful in accomplishing their mission at first, but their commitment faltered. To love God means more than just being enthusiastic about Him. We must complete all the work He gives us and apply His instructions to every corner of our lives. Even though we may have experienced God at work in our lives, we must continually renew our commitment to obey Him every day, above all other authority. God gave success to the Israelites when they obeyed His master plan, but not when they followed their own desires. Their victory in battles came when they trusted in Him first, rather than in their military power, money, muscle, or mental capacity. God's work, done in God's way, will bring success. The standard for life and success is not set by the society around us. We must adjust our minds to God's way of thinking to see His standard for success. So initially, Joshua and the Israelites demonstrated their faith by trusting God daily to save and guide them. By noticing and remembering how God fulfilled His promises in the past, they developed strong confidence that He would be faithful in the future. Our strength to do God's work comes from trusting Him also. Honestly ask yourself, do you trust Him? His promises found in His Word and our prayers reassure us of His love and that He will be there to guide us in the decisions, victories, and the struggles we face daily. Remember, God does not always respond on our timetable, but He is always right on time. Faith begins with believing God can be trusted, especially when we have to sometimes wait to see the positive results we request. By staying in touch with God, we will have the needed wisdom to meet the great challenges of life. Joshua was an example of an excellent leader. He was confident in God's strength, courageous in the face of opposition, and willing to seek God's advice. In today's world, we see many examples of poor, evil, and heartless leadership. Killing and wanting to enslave people is splashed across our televisions for all the world to see. We see how divisions, lack of unity, and the lack of bipartisan behaviors are sabotaging growth for everyone in America and the world. To be a strong leader like Joshua, one must be ready to listen and to move quickly when God instructs us. There will never be real and lasting peace on earth until spiritual principles are present and followed at the conference tables of leaders throughout the world. Once we have God's instructions, we must be diligent in carrying them out. The strongest and the best leaders are led by God, a power way greater than ourselves. But it does not matter if we are a leader or not. We all want to be successful in life. So read the book of Joshua and seek the best and lasting success that only God can give, now and forever. Thank you.